In the quest to build the ultimate mini print farm, a problem became very obvious to me very quickly. What good is a clean, organized mini print farm if you can't find your filament? So I did what anybody else in this situation would have done, and I made the ultimate filament storage solution. Today we're going to go over everything that it took to make this filament storage system, along with how I organize my filament. We're going to go over costs, the amount of filament, what type of filament I used, what else it took to make it, how much time it took to make it, and pretty much anything else that I can think of along the way. You're gonna know. First, let's go back a little bit and figure out how we got to this point. If you haven't checked out the first Ultimate Mini Print Farm video, I would recommend checking that out right now in the corner. It's gonna get us to where we're at right now. In that video, I asked for your help in deciding how I should store my filament, because at that time it was just all over the place, and you guys came up with some great solutions. The two ideas that caught my eye was a sliding drawer at the bottom of the shelf unit, and Ikea actually already made that, but it was 50 bucks and it wouldn't store that much filament, so I wasn't too sure about that one. The other one was the Ikea Veskin, which is actually what I ended up doing for a long time. This Ikea product comes in at $10 and it stores a lot of filament, but it's very top heavy and it topples super easily, especially on carpet, so I kind of wanted a different solution that was a little bit more organized, a little bit more out of the way. So I took a step back and something was glaring at me almost immediately, and it was that there's a huge closet right by where I have this little mini print farm. But this closet was filled up with all sorts of junk and old clothes. It's basically just used as bulk storage, so I had to get rid of all that stuff first, and then we were left with this awesome blank canvas. Hey, real quick, before we get into what it took to make this, I just want to let you know that I'm trying to hit 15,000 subscribers and I need your help, so you should subscribe. Alright, see you later. This is the wall-mounted filament spool holder by iStudio on MakerWorld, and it seemed to solve all of my problems, so I printed out a few of the pieces to test them out. The things that really stood out to me about this profile is that there's multiple different diameters for whatever tube that you want to use. I ended up going with PVC, but if you have some other bar or dowel or different size PVC that you want to use, they have print profiles for pretty much every size you could think of on here, so it'll work for you. The other thing that stood out to me is that the brackets holding up the bar do not interact with where you can store your filament. They don't get in the way at all. And the final thing that really gave me the green light to go ahead with this one is that you can stack them almost exactly on top of each other. There's no wasted space in between. All of these brackets are printed out of PETG, just like the profile says, and they range anywhere from 130 grams of filament for the sides to about 75 grams of filament for the middle. Using those numbers for a very rough estimate, we're looking at about 1900 grams of PETG filament for this exact setup. Now obviously your space is going to be different, so the amount of filament that you use could be drastically smaller or drastically higher depending on how many brackets you need. Now originally I did not have those supports that are in the middle of the PVC pipes, but then I realized that filament actually weighs quite a bit and it was really bowing in the middle of that PVC pipe, so I had to add this for support. But if you were to use something such as EMT conduit, you're not going to have that issue of the pipe bowing down in the middle, so you can actually save a lot of filament by using EMT conduit, and it's similarly priced to PVC. It's really not that much more. For the bottom row of filament, I use the B plates in the print profile, so those are the ones that are meant to be sitting on top of something, and then for all the other ones I use the A plates, which are meant to be directly in the wall with nothing below them, nothing above them. The B plates require 2 screws each, so we're looking at 10 screws for that bottom row, and then the A plates require 3 screws each, so we're looking at around 55 screws in total, and possibly 55 drywall anchors if you don't have any studs to drill into. And like I said, this filament is pretty heavy, so you're going to need these anchors, or you're going to need to be drilled directly into studs in your wall. Now that we have the brackets all good to go, it was time to work on the PVC pipe. The first thing I did was measure out how much PVC pipe I would need for each section, and then I went and cut that out. All in all, it took 4 10-foot sections of PVC pipe for my setup. Next, I went and I spray painted the PVC pipe because that white with red lettering just wouldn't look good in this situation, and I put probably around 10 coats of paint on this PVC, but it was really cheap spray paint, so honestly, if you get some good spray paint, you can do it in way less than that, but that took a couple of hours. All that was left from that point was to drill all of these brackets into place with the PVC pipe in place, and that is a tip I would have for you guys. Have the PVC connected on both ends and then drill it in, because it's really hard to snap the PVC into place after it's already drilled in. Just a little tip for you if you decide to do this. But once all the brackets and PVC pipe were drilled in, we're good to go. It's time to start loading this thing up with filament. Now I know that talking about it made it seem super easy to do, but actually measuring everything out and getting everything as lined up as I possibly can, it took some time. It took around a week of working on this on and off. And that doesn't include the print time for the brackets, which could take quite a bit of time if you only have one printer. After my filament was all put up and ready to go, I noticed that there was a huge empty space to the left. I also happened to notice that I had an extra Ikea skadis board laying around. I think you can see where this is going. The skadis board is going up on the wall, and we're going to use that for some more storage. Except not filament storage. We're going to store pretty much everything else that's required for 3D printing on the skadis board and make it look good too. We're gonna get a little up close and personal here because I want to talk about my Ikea skadis board, and there is really no room. But I just want to go over everything that I have on it because I actually stored a ton of stuff on this thing. So the first thing you're gonna notice is build plate storage at the very bottom. I have build plate storage for both P1S, X1C, A1 printers right here, and then my A1 mini printer right there. And I keep those all at the bottom, and they're all super accessible. And right next to that, I have my 3D printed tweezers, which are very useful for getting things off of the build plate that aren't supposed to be there in the middle of prints. Above those, I have all of my different spool adapters. I have spool adapters for all sorts of different brands, universal spool adapters, pretty much everything that I could need. And just to the left of the spool adapters, I have the no clogger, which is a useful tool to clear any sort of clogs that you may get in your 3D printer. Next to that, it's a little bit hard to see, but I have a caliber. Whoa, that shouldn't mess with the accuracy of this thing at all, but there it is. Super cheap Pittsburgh caliber from Harbor Freight. Nothing that I do is extremely precise, so it works for everything that I need. Next to the caliber, I have some scissors, and right below that I have all the stuff I need to clean my build plate. Got my spray right here, and then I have my trusty microfiber right there. Moving along, we have the super cool filament swatch display. And then finally, right above that, I have my spool weight for the AMS system. And you can see I still have plenty of open room in that corner there, so I have way more things to store. But that's all I got on my board. Let's get back to the main video. Next, I stored my pasta respooler and my threaded press insert right below the skadis board because it was just a perfect fit. It's like it was meant to be. And then there was still one last open space which fit my filament dryers literally perfectly. Now everything is stored and it looks good, but it's still a closet and it's dark and dingy in there. We need some lighting. I ordered this cheap Govee strip light from Amazon. All it needs to do is be white. I don't need it to change colors, do anything crazy, no effects. I just want it to light up the room. I'll put the link in the description if you're interested in it. But this is where I ran into my next problem. I did not want the light to be facing directly up. I wanted it to be facing the filament. So just like everything else, what do? I look up a solution on MakerWorld, and there was one. What I found was this 10mm wide 45-degree angle mount 4 LED strips by Zolden. And it was literally exactly what I was looking for, so I printed out a bunch of them. My only issue was that these mounts were designed for nails and screws, and I didn't want to drill into the actual base of the shelf, so I just used some double-sided tape that actually worked out really good and is a whole lot stronger than I thought. While looking, I also found this 90-degree corner mount for LED strips, and I realized that I never thought about that. I actually need some of those to get around the corner of this closet. With my double-sided tape in hand, I got all of these channels in place, lined up pretty much exactly where I want them to be. This isn't perfect, okay? I'm not perfect, but I really tried to make it look good. And then I laid my LED strips in this channel, up the side of the wall, and then on the ceiling. Alright, real quick, I just wanted to show you all how I organize my filament. Not that you really care, but I'm just going to show you anyways, because why not? So this bottom row, I keep all of my open spools, the spools that I've been using, and I start with my most used to my least used. So I start with all my black, white, and gray filament because that's typically what I use the most of, and actually you can see right now, I have very few open of those because they're all in my printers. Then we move into our greens, purples, blues, reds, all that stuff that I don't really use too often. Then down in the corner we get into some specialty filament like this stone or this gold. And then finally at the very end I keep all of my multicolor rainbow special type filament. Oh, I also forgot to mention that this entire row is all PLA. This is all PLA, no ABS, no PETG, just PLA down here. And this second row is the exact same story, except these are all unopened spools. So again, I have all of my white, black, gray, super commonly used PLA that's unopened. And then we go into our colors, green, blue, red, orange, whatever, and then we have our specialty filaments down at the very end, all unopened PLA. Now if we pan up a little bit, this is going to be all of my ABS, and because I don't have as much room on this shelf, I have all of my unopened on the left, and everything else that's opened is going to be on the right hand side, and then I have some empty spools down here just because I needed a place to put them. You can see the ABS is not used too frequently around here. Same exact story for PETG. I have all of my unopened spools first, and then I have all of my used in progress spools down at the very end. And PETG is used pretty frequently, so I have a lot of PETG. And this middle shelf is just overflow for everything. I could put TPU on there, I could put some carbon filament if I end up messing around with that. If by chance I get enough PLA to where both of these are full, then this is my overflow. Overflow PETG, overflow ABS, just everything else goes on this shelf right here. Alright, this is probably what you've all been waiting for, the cost. How much did this cost? Everything I'm about to tell you is going to be in US dollars, just so you're aware. So the amount of filament that I used is going to be around 15 to 1600 grams of filament, so that means that you are going to need 2 rolls, and currently Sunlow PETG is $16 a roll, so that comes out to $32 in filament, but you're gonna have about 500 grams left over. And if you want a discount on Sunlow filament, there's a discount link below, so go check that out. Next is the PVC pipe. I used 4 3/4 inch by 10 foot PVC sections, and they're about $3 each, so that comes out to $12. For the screws and the drywall anchors, I bought a kit on Amazon that was $9 that had everything I needed and then some, so I still have plenty left over. And finally, the LED strip was actually one of the most expensive pieces to this whole thing. It was a total of $20. So my grand total for everything here, including the lights, is $73. Or if you don't want the lights, it's $53. Honestly, all in all, it's a whole lot cheaper than I thought it would be, especially for how good it looks and how much filament I'm going to be able to store. I haven't even halved the capacity of this thing. But while the cost was lower and better than I was expecting, the time it took to print was a whole lot higher than I was expecting. The print time for everything that I printed out, not including the LED brackets or any of the skadis attachments, is 61.1 hours. Now this is just an estimate, but that is what I got. 61.1 hours of print time for all of the brackets that you see behind me. And that is quite a bit of print time, I won't lie to you. There's no sugarcoating that. That's a lot of time for these printers to be running, but they can do it non-stop. You could run this thing non-stop for a couple of days and they'll be done. But if you have 2 printers that could print in PETG, that time is literally going to get cut in half down to 30 hours. And you have 3 printers that could print these out at the same time, you're looking at only 20 hours, which is less than a full day. All in all, yes, this project is expensive with time and money and filaments, but I love it. I think it just looks so cool. But what I love about this project is that it can scale to whatever space or whatever your needs are. You do not need to make a space this big for filament. You can make literally just one of these bars. It's going to take you 6 hours, a couple of screws, and probably some PVC that you already have lying around. Or you can make it 10 times bigger than I did, and you can have your entire wall of your room just lined with these things, filament everywhere, just crazy amounts of filament. It's completely up to you, and that's what I love about this project. It scales to as much or as little as you need. But that is all I have for you today. That is going to be the end of this video. If you have any questions about what I did, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any comments or concerns, again, comments down below. And if you have anything not nice to say, you probably already put it in the comments, but if you didn't, I guess you can. I can take it. But with all that being said, I think this is a great time to let you know that you should check out some of my other videos. You should subscribe if you like this video, because we're trying to hit 15,000 subscribers, and that's only going to be possible if you just click that red button right there. Did you do it? Thanks. Or no thanks if you didn't. Honestly, it's up to you if you think this video deserves a subscribe or not, but the only thing I can make sure that you do is have a great rest of your day.